everyone to another episode of the Hempy Talks. I'm really excited to have you back if you have been listening to a couple of episodes, and I hope you are enjoying it as much as I do to talk to different people from different parts of the world and learn more about industrial hemp and learn about the different stories that comes with it. So I'm very excited this week to welcome the lady who loves Þórunn from Iceland. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I'm very excited to have you on the Hempy Talks.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, Iceland is not a country that comes up for you if you think of industrial hemp. So when I was telling people that, I'm going to talk to somebody from Iceland about industrial hemp, the first question that comes up is, does it grow in Iceland? Like, how do people even know about industrial hemp in Iceland? So what do you have to say about this?
Well, yes, it does. That's the thing. I think hemp can grow in most places in the world. And we do have so many seeds. We have 44,000 seeds, the last I know, and they're all kept in one bank in Poland, I know. So we have a lot of seeds to choose from. And we are in zone 7, which is a very small zone, or different zone than most people are growing in. But there are seeds from zone 7, and we've been doing a lot of trial and error, of course, finding what we need to do in Iceland and what kind of breeds we can use, because we are, by law, we are in EU, but we are not in the EU. We are more like Alaska or, Siberia or something up in the north, way away from really Europe, if you think about it. So I've grown myself 10 hectares just to do a trial on the different breeds to see how they grow, and I changed the data for the life circle. And I think for sure we need to do more trials and I found finally a seed bank that has seeds for our zones. So hopefully we're going to do more research next year with seeds that are supposed to be very good for our zone. But we did grow a lot that worked before. It's not that, but it's a little bit too long plant, so we are a little bit risky of losing the harvest, with time. So we want to try some other seeds from Alaska or from Siberia. So this is what we're going to do next. But definitely it does grow in Iceland. It really works for us.
Yeah.
So it's quite, nice, because we have 4 things I think that grows in Iceland, like farming. It's barley, I think it's rapeseed, and there is corn and one other thing that I don't remember right now. But this is the only thing we can farm. Farming in Iceland is very young. It started in 1980 something, so it's a quite new, new thing for us. And it is a risky thing to be a farmer in Iceland, and it's a quite short timing that you have as a farmer working outside, and then you need to do something else in the winter.
Right, that's a very interesting answer and very interesting to know about it as well. And how did you come up with the idea of growing industrial hemp among, out of those things? Why hemp?
So I got to know the hemp plant through my friend. My friend got cancer like 20 years ago or something, and then we started and we knew he was very, very sick and he would probably not make it. So we just wanted to try to make it more comfortable, and we're trying to find ways and everything. And we started to read about this plant, and we made some oil, and he had a cancer that was out on his neck. And when we put the oil on him, the cancer went, shrank together and his throat opened and he could eat. And then the cancer just blew out again. And we did that a couple of times a day, and he could eat and stay at home. So that was my first introduction. And I was just like, oh my God, this is just crazy, just seeing this. And from that, I just started to read and be really curious about this plant. And the more I read, I'm just more in love, really. It's just unbelievable what this plant can do for us. It's definitely one of the solutions for the future. It can, there's no other seed in the world that can dress you, feed you, make medicine, and make a house for you. And I think it's quite amazing, and we should definitely be looking more at it. And I think when people start to get used to that plant, they are going to be doing amazing research, and we're going to see so many things coming out there. Yes. So I think it's just, if you really get that propaganda out of your system and you just get start to read and just get informed, you will see just such amazing things and how fast she grows and how she can do much for our land. It can build up soil, it can bind carbon, it can, make the strongest fibers, and the meat inside can make the houses and the plastic and all this. It's just crazy, and people think sometimes you are crazy when you talk about hemp because you have all the solutions that you really need. But we've already built our first house, and it, like a little sample house in Iceland, and we got this really nice architect from Lutica in Iceland, which is an architect company, and they built our first hemp house with almost everything: the soil, the foundation, and the roof, and what holds the house up is from Icelandic trees and Icelandic things. And we tried to do a house that has the less carbon print that you can do. And now we're watching that with all kind of cameras and for humidity and seeing how the heat is and everything. And hopefully in maybe 2 years or so, we can maybe grow our own houses. That's what's our goal with really what we are doing with growing in Iceland is just being a little bit more sustainable. What can we do here, which is not that too hard, and be more sustainable and less maybe import or something, and give people a little bit, like a weapons for them to be able to do their things a little bit more, and always not being, people want to be more sustainable. People want to be able to take more care of themselves, not always be independent on somebody else. And I think hemp is one of these things that can really make you more, taking care of your land and your animals and just all these little things that you could do to make everything a little bit greener and better.
Yes, beautiful. Everything that you said is truly beautiful and true as well. And there is something that you mentioned which is really I remember very well is how resilient the plant is, because Iceland has a very different climate from many other countries, and then there is a resilience for this plant to survive and to provide all those solutions that you mentioned. And interestingly enough, you were the one who I found out about when, I was doing research and just really getting amazed by all the things hemp can do, but also getting amazed how the different ways of how people use industrial hemp. And how I found you, it was as somebody who initiated to organize hemp conference in Iceland. So how did one idea lead to another? So you got to know the plant, you were amazed, you experimented with it. Apparently you are part of projects going on in Iceland related to industrial hemp. But how come the conference? How did it
come? The thing is, in 2019, I've been trying to import CBD to Iceland, and I was always trying, and it was very hard, and I was always getting a lawyer asking to do these and that things for me. And while I was doing that, I found a couple of other people who were doing just the same things in another corner. So in the end, I just called them and said, hey guys, I saw you've been doing the same things as us. Can we do a hemp association? Let's just form a hemp association. Let's do something together so we're not doing everything in a different corner. And that's what we did. So we got together and we started our hemp association in 2019 and the goal is really just educate and fight for a legalization in Iceland. So from there, we did our first little conference 2019 in October. We did just an evening conference. It was just supposed to be a little thing, but we had 350 people coming. It was just crazy. We had the association for 1 day, not 1 month. So we were just very amazed, and it was all kinds of people, farmers and just every kind. So that was a really big push for us there is a lot of people out there thinking the same or want to do something. So we started to do all these nice, just educating. I started to grow, and I told Siggi, my friend, who, is the co-founder of the Hemp Association, is that we need to start growing a little bit. Make sure that we can do what we are fighting for. So I got a land near Kirkjubæjarklaustur, and I started to grow just to see, and everything worked really nicely. And I think we can do it even better, as I told you before. And from there, when COVID started, I decided to email one of the biggest television stations in Iceland, and I said, hey, I want to do a documentary about Iceland, about hemp, the first green steps. And they said, yes, no problem, let's do it. So in COVID, I spent the whole time just traveling around the country, meeting hemp farmers and people who wanted to try to grow hemp. And it's been on in the television in Iceland now for 2 years. And it just somehow, it just comes to you. Every opportunity you get, people are asking you, there's just so many people interested, but people don't know where to start. That's the thing. They're very, and this is a little bit different farming because you don't have to switch soils. You use the same soil. You can really make it sustainable. There's so many really great things with this plant. And having a plant that grows to 2 meters in 3 months, you just really watch her grow. And I even had there's a stick with the centimeters, I don't know what you call it, to measure. And I watched it grow 10 centimeters in a day. 10 centimeters a day, that's crazy. You don't see plant grows in front of you. So for me, it was the most amazing and fun thing I've done growing hemp because it took me 3 months. I had a lot of material. I don't have any machine, so I couldn't completely get everything in. But this is, of course, is a trial and just to make sure you can produce the material that you want. And what I got inside, I took all that material and gave it to universities, art schools, kids schools, just every kind of schools. And I took the material for them to make. One school made a pizza oven, another school, just made a sample of a hemp plastic, all kind of things. But I think the solution for the future is to get the young people to, see this material, not like a dangerous thing like we do, our people in our age, we are a little bit, have it in our blood, the propaganda against it. But so I think the really thing is to get it into production or like in, for the young kids to try to research on, and then we won't have this problem in the future.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's educating the young people and make them take the ball for us then, without all these problems that we have because of all the things they've told us that this plant is.
Yes, there is a huge stigma, and and also there is a huge interest. And I would just like to congratulate you for organizing it, such a successful event, introducing Industrial Hemp, bringing people together.
Yeah,
that's
and it was really, it was such a cool thing because everybody wants to come to Iceland to speak. So it was very easy for me to get somebody over. I didn't believe it. I went to a couple of conferences. And I was just like running around, don't know many people, and just asking everybody, yes, can I do something? Yes, can I come? So I was just like, oh my God, this is getting way bigger than I was, was supposed to be in the beginning. But it was such a fun thing, and it was such a good education because we did it a little bit different. I did it for the people, so we did it really build it up from soil into plant, and from plant, what can you do? And then we did a medical day, then we started on the endocannabinoid system and worked up from there. So people really did get the understanding what the plant is and how we work with it. Yeah. So I think this was one of the most fun I've done, and I think definitely we will do another one next year. So, and because, what happened when we did the conference on that weekend, our government collapsed. So now we have election on the 30th of November. So none of them really came to my conference who were going to come because they were trying to save their resources or something. And so we need to do this. I think we need to do this every year until we get something changed in the laws. That's the goal, is to wake up the people and get the people in the government. And, we've got a lot of nurses and some doctors this time. Let's just get the message to the people who change the law for the people who need it.
Yes. And absolutely all right, and very much right for you to say that we need the people who believe in this, who have the right understanding about it, and they do research about it and don't challenge the belief and the dogma, that the myth that it's a dangerous plant, which was planted, in all the countries, I would say, until very recently. Yeah. And the education awareness is the basic of it. This is how it starts. And then the buy-in of the government to support it with the laws and regulations to make it easier to get the approval, to grow it and process it, which is the bigger part of the game, locally. Also,
because you won't really fully need that, use that plant if you grow. You want to do everything, because it is that green and you can use every part of it. And it's so important to have that perfect production, or drying house and a production line that so you can really completely use that material.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable how much you can get from 1 hectare.
True. And also, apart from the education awareness and the government and the individuals looking for it, and I like when you said that it's actually a sign of them taking back control to grow your own plant, to grow your house, to use it in-house and to create that self-sufficient,
Yes.
households, which what used to be. But also, part of it, that now that we have so many big companies, is also the companies buying into it to accelerate the journey. So I have these 2 questions while I was listening to you coming up for me. One is, when was that year that they allowed growing industrial hemp in Iceland? And since that year, how did the companies are responding? Is the number growing? Is the interest growing? And what characterizes those companies that buy into industrial hemp?
So there's not really any companies buying into it right now. What happened is just the farmers really came running, and it was 2020, 21 that we got it approved to put the seeds down.
Okay.
And that was, I think, in April, and we had to put them down in May. So we were all running and trying to import it and just running into it. I threw my first hemp into the ground without even prepare it because there was no time. I just wanted to see if it would grow. So it was very excited, and farmers were very excited. They were so happy to be able to try this. And we have grown, I think, over 250 hectares in Iceland for the last 5 years. But what we found out too is that it's very hard to harvest. You need special machines, you need special cutters. So it's very hard for us, and there's a lot of material, and Iceland is a very wet country, so we need dryers. So we need dryers to be able to dry all the stems to get them in-house before everything goes away under snow. So this is, of course, a big complication because it's quite expensive to do that production line. And this is really where we stand today, is that we want to grow it. There's a lot of people who want to do it, but we need the government to step in and help us to make something greener and better, because you can't ask anybody to do it, because it's a really seasonal thing in Iceland. We could do it. We could grow flowers inside in the winter because we have our geothermal heating and our green energy. So insides growing in the winter would be perfect, and do stems growing in the summer outside. But for this, we could build our houses, we could make underbed for animals, which is a really good nutrition for the ground afterwards. And it's so much like bacteria killing. It's 5 times more absorption, and it's just it's a beautiful thing compared to what we are giving our animals today. And there's just a lot of little things these are the things that we are importing in a big containers for so little money, and with such a much pollution. So I would love to just fill up in these little gaps, which is an easy production, but would save us a lot of carbon prints. Yeah. It's always a question of trying to get, in Iceland we import everything. And most ships go empty away. It's just crazy.
Yes.
So it is a lot of pollution that I think we need to be a little bit more, like Icelanders don't think about that. The importers just think about what happens here, but we know the ships are one of the most polluted thing in the world. So we need to be really more focused on, and with everything that's happening in the world, we just need to be more focused on what can we do to be sure we can take care of our own people.
Yes.
It's just,
yes.
You feel like you need to do it today.
Yes, there is definitely a calling in your voice, and also a commitment, a dedication to raise awareness of it, which is very important. And this is what, this is what characterizes basically a change maker, how you are to work on it and to open doors and to look for new opportunities where you can raise awareness of it even more. Having said that, I'm super amazed by everything you said, that it's 2019, the first time, and it was allowed in Iceland in 2021, which is only 3 years ago. So it's very new, and you already progressed so much. So it's really well done, and congratulations. And really, just to ask, what's next here for you?
Well, we are just sitting down now and deciding, what we did with our conference. We recorded all our conference, and we're going to put that online so everybody can get that education that we are putting out there. We don't want to sit on it. We want to get it out to everybody. So I think we'll just start, planning the next one. And I think that we have an election, we're getting a new government. So it's a little bit start again on things, if we get new people into the parliament. And I think we will have a little bit change this time. We had the worst government ever last 4 years. It's been a terrible thing, nothing happening here but fighting on the parliament. So not really working for the people. So, so I really have to start all that introduction and getting into the parliament and get them to know. But there's a lot of people who are know what I'm doing, and I do agree. And now I think what we need to do is just start writing the bills for them, showing them how things can be done and things like that. If you do a little bit work for them, they're more likely to look at it. And this is just the next steps. It's really just starting pushing them. We have a quite good lobbyist with us today after all these years, and they are talking to the government with us and, trying to get education. And there's another thing that is very important for me is harm reduction. And CBD oil has been used a lot in harm reduction. And I think we are having a lot of problems with drugs in Iceland. And I think this is a thing we have to look at too.
Yes, amazing. And I would like to say that anywhere you need help and support, let me know. More than happy to jump and do any kind of work to help your work, because it's fantastic. You are doing a great job, and I wish you strength and wisdom, what's needed for the coming time, because after all, it's building up a whole system from scratch. So it does require community, it does require shared values and dedication, but you have all of that. So all I can do is just to offer my support and wishing much growth to industrial hemp industry in Iceland. And
thank you.
Of course.
Such a sweet words you just have to say. But, that's the thing with the, people in the hemp world. They are just so supportive with each other. Yes. I've never got to know any industry where everybody is just willing to step in and help you. Yes. But it seems to be a lot like this. And I wish the world would be more like that. So yes. I think we are showing people how we can work together and how we should start being more like groups, not like all independent in every corner, but work together and change something to better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would just second that. This is my experience as well from everyone I talk to. Very supportive, very much community oriented, because we are doing it together and we definitely don't want to do it alone. To make it successful and lasting longer, we need to do it together, and that's what we do. So I really appreciate you being here, and also I appreciate everyone who is listening to this episode. And please go and find out more about Þórunn and how industrial hemp is in Iceland. To me, it was truly an eye-opener to have this conversation, and thank you so much for that, Þórunn.
Thank you for inviting me. Nice to meet you.
See you.